Hello and welcome to the very first of many videos introducing you to the world of Revion by RainForest Games. Journey through the island of Revion and meet fantastic creatures with amazing powers. Fight as a team with your deck of allied creatures on the adventure of a lifetime. But be wary, for this island is filled with just as much danger as it is wonder. And if you aren't careful, you could lose everything. If you want to give this game a shot or check out any of our other products, please visit rainforestgames.weebly.com. But without further ado, this video is going to be leading you through how to play the game, the basic rules, so you can start your adventure with friends and family. Alright, after shuffling your deck and allowing your opponent to cut it to ensure fair gameplay, both players start with a 300 life point count and draw an opening hand of 4 cards from the top of their decks. You need to place your deck of 30 to 40 cards face down wherever is most comfortable and least disruptive to the gameplay. Also make your discard pile distinct and off to the side and face up so both players have knowledge of what has been played thus far during the game. You can only have 3 creatures active on the field at once. Creatures which make up the majority of your deck, and you can only have 4 copies of each creature in your deck, split between it and your sideboard of 0 to 10 cards. So if I were to have 4 copies of Sky in my main deck, Sky of the Foxfist, I cannot have any in my sideboard. But if I only had 2 copies of Sky of the Foxfist in my main deck, I can have 2 in my sideboard. And you can have 2 tokens active alongside your 3 creatures. Tokens are creatures, they count as creatures, and they are created by the ability of other creatures. They don't go in your main deck. Let's move on to parts of a turn. Make sure you are clear about what phase you are in and when you are moving to a different phase. Decide turn order. So this is done at the very start of the game by rolling dice, and you decide how you want to choose which of you go first. Draw phase. This takes place at the beginning of each turn. So once it's your turn, you draw a card and add it to your hand, making your hand of 4 become a hand of 5, and you do so at the beginning of each turn. Each of your turns. The ready phase, when you have attacked with a creature, you are to tap it so that your opponent, so both players remember which cards have attacked already. During the ready phase, you move any creatures in your rest position to ready, so they can attack during your turn. Main phase, this is when you call your creatures to battle, which you do by giving up your own life. That life count of 300, you would pay, say, in order to play Sky here, Sky the Foxfist, you'd pay 20 life, the LC here. You'd play that, and then you'd call her to the field. Now, LC acts as the creature's own health. So, if, say, you were being attacked by a creature of 25 power, Sky would be destroyed, and then I would take damage equal to the difference. In this case, it would be 5. And if I was attacking, say I attacked into a creature of 20 LC with only 15 power, or P. They'd put a marker on the card. Don't actually put a marker on the card. Put like dice or something to keep track of it. They would be reduced from 20 to 5. Yeah. And once that reaches 0, that creature is destroyed. And if, say, Sky was attacking with 15p Sky was attacking with 15p into a creature who has 15 LC. That creature is destroyed and Sky wins the battle. The same goes with tokens and whatnot when they're created. During the main phase, you also get to activate card abilities. That card abilities, right here on the card, they change how the game is played. They allow you certain liberties during the gameplay. Sky, in this instance, has the ability to gain 5p for every creature on the field, which includes tokens. All right, battle phase. We've already touched a bit about it. This is where you can make attacks. You have to be very distinct on which card is attacking and allow your opponent enough time to respond with whatever they have. Some abilities can activate from the hand, some activate from the field, some even activate from the discard pile. And of course, once your 300 life points reduced to 0, you lose. And one more factor about the battle phase here. If your opponent has a field clear of creatures, none left, you are free to deal your opponent direct damage with whatever creatures haven't attacked yet. You would signal their attack and attack directly. You attack the player as long as they have no creatures to defend themselves. That would be dealing the full amount of the P directly to your opponent's life points. All right, and then the end phase. Pretty self-explanatory. Your turn has ended, and it is your opponent's turn. However, some abilities can still activate during this phase. All right, ways to lose. Life count. Once your life count drops from 300 to 0, you lose instantly. Decking out. You don't necessarily lose when the number of cards in your deck hits 0, but if you cannot draw a card during your draw phase due to having no cards left in your deck, you lose the game. Timeout. This only applies during tournaments. If a winner hasn't been decided by the end of the designated turn, the designated time, the player finishes their turn, and then the next player would take their turn. Whoever has the highest life points at the end wins. There are some basic rules to tournament play, but I think I'll leave that for another video. Building a deck. I'll go more in depth in a new video, but there are some basic guidelines to know that I mentioned at the beginning of this game. I'll just reiterate briefly. You can only have 30 to 40 cards in your main deck, 0 to 10 in your sideboard, which are kept separate between your main deck and your sideboard, and a maximum of 4 copies of the cards split between them. Now, what you use a sideboard for, I'll just touch on this briefly. If you're having a game of, if you're having a best of 3 game, you would swap cards between the 2 decks to give yourself a better advantage, of course. And once the game is finished, make sure that your sideboard and your main deck cards are switched back. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you found it informative, and I hope that you check out our game. Search Revion in the Game Crafter or visit rainforestgames.weebly.com. And I hope you're staying safe at home. Try this out with your family. Till next time, this is Rainforest Games signing out. Oh, and one more thing. Forgot. The artist section, Sky the Foxfist, written by Sierra Mark.